Yeah, hi. Good morning to everyone. So let's start our session now. Okay. So in the last class, we are almost done with the arrays discussion. So that means we completed topic of arrays. So we understood what is the importance of arrays and how we are doing operations by using array in our Java language. So how internally Java is working. As part of Java, how data is managing internally, like with respect to index and values, index versus values, we discuss each and every details. So array is all about a group of values representing a group of values always belongs to same data type. So that means whenever you created an array internally by default, an array will be created means internally with consecutive memory locations, some memory is reserved by providing index numbers, and index is always started with the 0, and every time array is initialized with the default values in case if you created with array initialization approach. That is all we discussed in the last class, and even we discussed about how to store use non-primitive data type content, non-primitive data type objects as part of the array. That is also we discussed. So for example, if you are creating array like product details, student array, employee array, order order details array. So whenever we are creating an array with non-primitive data type, so then also we understood how we are making array operations with non-primitive data types, like internally how it is storing the data, how it is managing the data, what is the references, is it storing directly an object or is it pointing to an object reference of that respective non-primitive data type. So these are all details we discussed in the last session. So these are all details we discussed in the last session. So with this, we are almost done with the regular array operations. And the importance of array usage in real-time application is this. I can say like very less. The reason is we are having a concept called as collection framework. So that is basic data structures and algorithms point of view we will use in every Java application called as collection framework. So as part of the collection framework, we have a lot of solutions which we are facing, which we are having as a problem in the array. So for those are all things, we have solutions in the collection framework. And collections framework is very much simplified when comparing with the arrays concept. So that's why most of the time, majority of the time, 90 percentage people will use collection framework. So that means we will understand what is collection framework and all. You will understand maybe after a couple of weeks. So we will use only collection framework, not only I cannot say like only, but majority of the times we will use collection framework. The reason is there are some disadvantages available in the collection arrays topic. So what are the disadvantages of arrays? First point is the memory problem. So what is the point of memory here? Size, array size is nothing but internally indirectly it's a memory. So if I created an array, for example, assume this is the array I created, string array. So I given size of 60. I given size of 60. So whenever I created an array, immediately string names equal to string of 60 like that I given. So that means array size is 60 here. So what is the problem in this case? In this case, the problem here it is, assume out of 60, I have only 10 values. But I created array with 60, immediately memory allocation happened for 60 string values. So whatever the memory it is, default memory size for the string point of view, 60 memory allocations happen. But in reality, I got only 10 values. So that means when I have 10 values, internally 50 positions are not filled. So that means that 50 memory allocations are unnecessarily we are wasting. So that means can I reduce size from 6, dynamically 60 to 10? No, I cannot do that. So as well as assume I given 60 as this size, but some reason, by some reason, instead of 60 values, I got 70 values, but my array is created only for 60 values. So whenever I have more than one value, more than 60 values, some reason I got more than 60, like 70, 80, 90 values. So in such case, can I increase this array size? Can I automatically increase the array size? Means no. So that means in this case, once an array is created with some size, you cannot decrease, you cannot increase automatically based on the data you are storing in the array. So that is the biggest challenge in the arrays topic. Point number one. So you cannot increase, you cannot decrease the array size. Once it is created with some memory, once it is created with some size, that size is always permanent. Whether you are storing how many values, how much memory you are wasting when you are having less amount of values, okay, it's a drawback. Second thing is, by any chance, if you are getting more than one value of that array size, you cannot handle it. So, if, for example, you got one more value, 61 value, and but still array size is 60 only. So, in such case, you cannot keep the data, you cannot store the data, as well as we will get an exception called as array index out of bounds exception. We will get it. So these are all details we discussed in the. I mean, if you are going beyond the array size, then you will get array index out of bounds, error or exception generally. So the drawback in this case is you cannot make the dynamic size. Dynamic size means you cannot improve the increase the array size automatically whenever more data is coming. You cannot decrease the array size whenever less data is there. So that is the biggest challenge in the arrays topic. So for this, there are solutions available in the collection framework. So that means that's why I said when it comes to real-time applications, people will use collection framework. But when it comes to your interview perspective, or when it comes to, but at the same time, to understand the collection framework very well, to understand the collection framework very well, the arrays is the fundamental concept. So if you are not understanding arrays, how it is happening and all, so it's little bit difficult to understand internally how collection framework is designed. So that means by using on top of arrays only, again Java language is implemented collection framework. Java language is implemented collection framework. So that means the disadvantage point of view in the arrays concept, what we are having here it is the array size. So array size, we can, I mean, Java is unable to make it as dynamically. Yeah, so array size we cannot make dynamically. Dynamically increase or decrease is not possible. So when you are having less values, memory wastage will be more, as well as when you are having more values, you will get the exception. So that's right. This is the disadvantage of this one. Second thing is, in an array you can store only one data type values. So then generally it is calling as heterogeneous data. So we can store only heterogeneous data, means hetero means same type. Store only same data type data. So that means what is the point here? It is assume if I have student objects, some reason I'm telling you, as well as some other object called as employee objects, whatever it is. So in this case, if I created an array with student array, I can store only student type of data, but I cannot keep other types of data. So that means in future, but still I want in future, for example, I want to maintain these objects as part of same array. It's very difficult to store those kind of information. So it is accepting when you created student type array only student data, but not employee type data. If you created employee type array, you can store only employee objects, but not any other things. But I want to make both are storing in the same array point of view. It's not that much easy in this arrays concept. So even for this kind of solutions also, generally we have, I mean, for this kind of issues also we have solutions in the collection framework, but it's not recommended. That those details I'll discuss in the collection framework level. So simply array will allow only heterogeneous data type, means it will allow the type what you created, only that kind of data, but not every other type. So that is, it's not a big issue with respect to real time development point of view, but sometimes if demanded requirement is demanded, then you cannot do. So that is, but the most important drawback of arrays concept is, this is the one most important drawback of an array. So the size, array size, once you create it, that's all. So whether you storing less values, memory allocation is still happen for the entire size, but it is never ever decreased. If you are having more values, okay, then you will get the array index out of bounds exception, but that means the array size is not increasing automatically. So that's the challenge of array problem always. So for that you will have solutions in the collection framework, so that's why people will use it. But to understand the collection framework, I'm telling you one more time, and at this same time I told you one more important thing also. With respect to interview perspective, people will always ask questions around arrays only, not from the collection framework. The reason is, I already told you, they will check, they will verify what is your thought process, what is your, okay, problem solving skills, to understand all those things, how you are thinking in a core level. When problem is there, how you are thinking in a core point of view, so that they will ask always questions around arrays. So that's why there is sometimes interview is more difficult than the real work. So that is the saying we have. So that means interview is more difficult than real work. So what is the point here? It is, once you selected into an off, okay, into a position, so doing real time job work is very easy when comparing with the interview. The reason is, in interview people will ask all this from the core level, but in real time we will not do all these things. Very, so by using frameworks we will use ready-made solutions. Easy solutions are simple. We will have a, we will have some time, we can do the Google, we can ask the chat GPT, and as well as we will use always some ready-made framework solutions to achieve some task and all. But interview is not like that. Interview is always happens around the core knowledge. Like they will give only these kind of things, and they will ask you, can you find out the duplicates, can you make sure how array size is incremented and decremented automatically if I don't want to use collection framework. So the reason is, they want to check how your thought process, how your core skills are available, problem solving skills, at least how you are reacting. Okay, it doesn't matter if you provided 100% solution or not, at least the way how you are taking that problem into consideration and how you are able to dealing with that problem. Okay, what is your thought process? To verify all these things, people will verify. Okay, so that's why just focus on arrays. It's very important point of view. Okay. Okay, so now let's come back to the next continuation to that. One small thing we have to discuss, and then we can close the arrays topic. So what is that is, from day one onwards, every day we are writing main method. So every day we are writing a main method. From day one onwards, we are writing the main method. So whenever we are writing the main method, we are keep on writing every time string array args, something like that. So this is mandatorily every time we are writing, whenever we are writing the main method. Now, what is the purpose of this string array as part of the main method? Why Java is always expecting, or why Java defined a string array as part of the main method? What is the reason behind it? Let's understand now. It's a very simple. Just see here. Why main method contains string array? What is the reason behind it? Let's understand. Okay. So the point here it is, when we are defining a method with array type. For example, assume in the last class we created an array which is having a method argument as an array. So in this case, what is the meaning of this? Whoever is calling this method, okay, whenever we are calling this method, for that method we have to pass always argument value which belongs to the array. So why I am passing array? So that means I am passing group of values or some group of input values to this method in the form of array. In the form of array. So that means in a simple no, if we want to pass, if we want to pass some real values or data to a method, we will pass always via method arguments. Via method arguments. So this is all we discussed in the methods itself. So when you want to pass some information to a method, some real values, generally what we will do is we will define always method arguments. So assume you want to pass one value, one value always. So then you will define only directly variable. For example, assume get dollar price, something like that. So here you are passing, assume integer, something like in rupees or whatever it is, something like that. So what is the point here? It is you are passing the Indian rupees value here to this method so that it will convert Indian rupees into dollar and it will tell you what is the dollar, how many dollars the value is equal to, something like that. So that logic you define. So here the point is you are passing only one value in this case. That's why you define only argument as a in this way. But some reason to a method I want to pass more than one value and belongs to same data type. Assume I want to pass all students information to a method, and that student means assume it is more than 40, 50, 200, 300, 400, 1000 students also. So whenever all and more than one point of view, generally now we know a topic called as arrays topic. So in such case what we will do, something whatever the method it is, get all students, whatever the method it is, but here you know that it's better to go with solution called as arrays topic. So what you will do, you will create an array called as student type array and you will add all the students information to that array, and then you will pass that array to this method in this format. So now in this case what's happening, you got, for this method you are passing real student objects, students information in the form of student objects, and you by using that student array you are iterating or whatever it is, simply you are defining the logic and you are sending the data to database, whatever it is you are able to do it. So here you got this time data in the form of array. So array means you got more than one value, more than one value. For example, if I define one more value, uh, average of student marks, overall class level I want to take the average. So generally you know the formula, marks, all student marks plus by number of students, something like that. So here you need again input of all student marks. So all means more than one. So again I can take something like this, marks comma integer count. So why I take an integer count here, student count, and the first point is assume there are 60 students available. The 60 students total marks I taken into array. So again more than one value. So now when you are iterating the marks in this case, how many values you will get means more than one value. So you are passing 60 values at a time to this method in the form of array. So assume 60 real values in the form of array, you're passing it. So like one student got 500, one student got 600, something like that. Something like that, 60 students information you're passing. And at last 60. Why you are passing here only one value means it's a single variable point of view. So in this overall process, what we understood, when you are passing group of values of belongs to same data type, generally we are defining method argument as a array, and then we are taking those values in the form of array. So now whoever is calling this method, what they will do is average of student marks, object name dot average dot whatever it is, object dot average of student marks, something like that. You will call what? You will pass always an array here. So whatever the array you created by the time with student marks, you will pass that array name. So nothing but marks, comma, total 60 students are there, like that you will call it. So in this case, this marks is again an object, an array. So then that comes here, and internally you will write some logic like adding all the array values. But after that, once you are getting all the results 60 and all. So if you are leaving all this concept, what we have to understand here it is, whenever you want to pass some information to a method, you need always a method argument. And as part of that, whenever you want to pass more than one value belongs to same data type to a method, you are using arrays concept. Now in the overall process, generally Java, whenever we are executing a program, execution always starts from the main method. Always starts from main method. Always starts from main method. So now assume sometimes there is a requirement like, okay, the execution starts from the main method, but there is a requirement demanding like whatever the logic you written inside the main method. So that means the logic inside main method is demanding some real values. Real values means not variables. That is what my intention here it is. Values. Something like email ID equal to dilip@gmail.com. So that means in that case, email ID is a variable. Dilip@gmail.com is a value. So some reason I want some values as part of main method also. To execute the main method, I need some values. I have to pass. So in this overall point, what I can say is, so main method is expecting some input values. So how will you do that? So whenever as a developer, if you are writing our own methods, and whenever that method is expecting some input values based on our comfort, based on our requirement point of view, we are defining all these arrays in variables and everything as part of our methods. Now similarly, even though Java is using main method to execute our program always as a static method or whatever it is, even sometimes there is a requirement we have to pass some values to the main method externally, so that by using those input values, by using those input values, the logic of main method will be executed. By using those, logic will be executed. By using those values, logic will be executed. So how will you pass values to the main method? So now in this case, Java thought like, okay, we made main method as mandatory, and whenever even main method is also expecting some real values, some values, so then we have to give a comfort to the developer like they given a solution called as string array as part of the main method. So now what they are saying is, whenever you are executing this program, JVM always starts from the main method, right? So that means when JVM started here, so here what Java is designed is they given a string array. So that means now we can pass values to the string array. The next question is again here. If I want to pass values to this method, inside main method, I created an array, all employees, and that reference I passed here and that came here. Because this method implementation is under our control. This method implementation is under our control. Our control in the sense, we written on our own and we passed employee array to this method. But now, generally, in this case, we are calling this method on our own. We are calling this method and then we are passing array object here. But in this case, we are not calling main method anytime. Who is calling always? Internally, JVM is calling. JVM checking for the main method. If main method is existed in this format, exactly in this format, then JVM is calling this method. So that means it's not in our control. Calling main method is not in our control. As a developer, we cannot call main method specifically automatically. I mean, we cannot call the main method specifically. JVM is automatically calling main method whenever it is presented. But whenever we are calling our own methods and we are passing the array here. But when JVM is calling this method, then how will you pass values to array here? So now ultimately what you understood, even for main method also you can pass values in the form of string array. So you can pass a string array to main method now based on the method argument concept. So now once you got values into this, you can do whatever you want. So let me take one example, one more new Java class. Something. I just taken a class name called as database configuration, whatever it is. Okay, so see here now. Now what you understood ultimately here it is. If I'm executing this program, run as Java application, what happened? The program is executed successfully and terminated also because you are not having any logic. So that's why it is executed and as well as terminated. If so, we know that in main method, something like that. Okay, so that means the main method is always executed by the Java internally whenever you are executing. Now, for example, see here, there is an interview question around the main methods, guys. Okay, let me cover that one also. If I change string array to some other data type array, what will happen? String array to some other data type array, what will happen? Are you going to get any error? What is going to happen is the question. So now in same point of view, what I did, I changed it to integer array. Earlier it is string, now I change it to integer array. So what will happen in this case is your program compilation will not happen anything. So compilation will happen success. Compilation is success. But when you are executing the program, executing means running your program. So you are okay. Whenever you are executing your program, what JVM will do? JVM will check always for main method. Okay. Along with string array argument. So main method always, so JVM will check always for main method, static main method along with string or array type. It will check always this method is presented or not. So now coming to this, it is verifying main method, everything is existed, but it's not string array. So that means then JVM will throw an error. See now, even if there is no string, even your Eclipse is also not showing an option like run as Java application. Run as Java application. Your Eclipse itself not showing that. So that is how things will happen. So if you want to execute from the command prompt point of view also, you know that, right? Java C, Java, file name.java, all this. So if you are giving this program, what it is, properties. Okay. Okay, simply it will give you an array. If you want, I can do one thing. I cannot execute from here. So it's not showing any option, right? Let me open that location. So from here, you can directly execute via from one command prompt also. So this, you know how to execute from the command prompt. So Java C point of it will execute. Okay, let me compile it. In that location, you don't have it, right? So compilation is happened successfully. So if you see here, dot class is created. Now if I'm executing same program again, so I'm trying to execute, what it will try to say is it is identifying the main method, but it's not found the main method. So what happened? Immediately got some runtime exception. So what it is, could not find or load a main method in the class called as database configuration. No class definition found. It is saying like simply not unable to find the. No, no, not this one. This is all nonsense. With you cannot understand. This is all comes under the class path point of view. Mm, I can quickly write down an individual program. So no need of all these things. I'll just quickly generate one example. Yeah. So here I'll just take some. I think I can take student.java. Any previous program also enough. It is having student, right? So string it is having. I'm making string to integer. So let's execute this pre Java C student.java, and then okay, it is expecting somewhere else some problem. Okay, here compile time error. Java C student.java. Yeah, let's execute now. See what it is going to say. Yeah, if you observe here now, it is giving clear error. So what it is trying to say means generally whenever you are executing this program, this is the error you will get it. Main method not found in the class called as student. Please define the main method always in the format of string. So that means even though if you are trying to give in the integer whatever other formats, it's not accepting. It is always looking for main method which is having the string error, but you are not given. So that's why the problem here it is. Okay, this is one of the interview question. If you are not given main string, if I convert it to other data type, what will happen means then Java will not accept that as a real main method. Okay, so Java will always looks for a main method, static main method, void main with always a string array, but not any other format. So if you are not giving that, then you will get this error. So this is clear. But as our requirement point of view, this is not our not our point. That is also be clear. For example, if you given what will happen. Now if I am keeping string again and how to pass the values. Okay, now whenever I am executing, this program is executing now. It is in the main method. But how to pass values to this string array? If it is in my control, I can pass it. For example, assume I created a method called as public void some student names and then string array array name, something like that. It's in my hands. I can pass some string array. Here it is. So whenever I'm calling this method, student names of, so I can pass some string of values in this case, or I can create a string array and I can pass that array here. So names equal to new string array of size 5, whatever it is. So then I can pass names here. So that means you are simply passing string to the string array to this method. It's in my control. But now main method is I am unable to call manually. So JVM is calling how to pass it to this array. Let's do one more thing. Let's set the size of this arguments. Sys out of size of string array of main method. Check the default size of array. So you know that how to check the array size dot size or length. Length is a predefined variable given by the Java language to always know the array size dynamically. So let's execute here again. What happened? So array size is 0. Yes, obviously, right? We are not passing any values. But how to pass values to this main method? So JVM is calling this method. As a developer, we are not able to call it manually. If I am able to call main method from my on my own like this, then I can pass some string values to that. But it's not I'm unable to call it. JVM is calling this method. Then how to pass values to this? But this method is always want some values to execute the logic of the main method. So in such case, how will you pass values to this string array is there is a concept called as command line arguments. Command line arguments. So Java given a concept called as command line arguments concept. So by using command line arguments, now understand that args is nothing but arguments point of view they given. So by using command line arguments, we can pass values to string array of main method. But what is the point of command line arguments? Let's understand here it is. So leave about the Eclipse for some time. In generally, what is the point of command line is we will see always this kind of things called as command line programming or whatever it is, command prompt, right? So let's do one thing. One small example I'll take here individually and then I'll go back there. Folder. I mean, why they given name in the Java first version like command line arguments means at that time probably their intention is you're passing always via, I mean, you're executing the Java programs via command by writing this command prompts and all these things. Yes, at one point of time people used to do everything via scripts and all. Even nowadays also not like that, but we will see that. So Eclipse point of view also I will show you, but first we will take one example in the command line prompt. So let's take a class called as any class name is enough. Student, sorry, database configuration I will take here also db config dot java. Okay, so what I will do, I'll take this. I'm just copy pasting the things. Okay, so the class name, whatever it is, I given as it is. Main method I written. Now let's compile this program first. Java C. The program is dbconfig.java. Everything is good, executed. Now let's execute first again. Compilation is success, execution is also success. In method size is 0. Now how to pass values to that method means I said you can pass via command line arguments. Passing values to string array of the main method you can do via command line. So the point here it is why they given command line arguments is, so whenever you are executing the program, generally how you are executing the program, Java space class name. Class name is dbconfig. So this is the format you are taking, right? Now in this case their intention is whenever you are passing here, if you observe here, this is the way we are executing the program. Immediately after that, you can pass here value 1, value 2 with some spaces, you can pass the values. So similarly, if you are having more than one value, value 3, so whatever the values you are having, you can pass always here along with the Java execution level. Whenever you are executing the program by using Java command, in the command line, in the same line itself, space value 1 space value 2 space value 3, like that you can pass many values from here. So you can pass many values from here. So whenever you are passing values in this format from here, what will happen? These are all values will be collected into, these are all values collected into string array. So what internally JVM Java will do is, whatever the values you are passing more than one value, as of now what we are doing, we are not passing any values, 0 values. So that's why if you are executing this program, it is saying like array size is 0. But now what I am trying to say is, if you want to pass values to the main method means immediately whenever you are executing the program in the command line, in the same line itself, you have to pass value 1, value 2, value 3. The number of values whatever you want to pass to that string array, you can pass in this format. So then immediately what it will do is, Java will, it will collect all these values one by one, whatever you are passing in the first position, second position point of view. So now this value will go to the 0 index, and then this value will go into the first index, and this value will go into second index, like that. Internally what Java will do is, all these values are collected and stored inside the string array of main method. So you have to pass values always via command line arguments. So yes, in real time applications, generally sometimes when you want to pass some values externally to the main method, generally they will write this kind of scripts and all. So we will use this kind of things. So here I will pass values in such format. So now let me pass values like that. I'm giving 1, 2, 3, Dilip, okay, and followed by I'm giving value called as SINGH, and then Dilip at the rate gmail.com, and then space. See, if you are observing here, I'm giving values to every space. Intentionally, I'm making it. Now I will pass one more called as 66.77, and I will pass one more 252627. Okay, something like that. I'm passing all the values. Now execute the program. What happened? Immediately the array size became 6. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You are passing 6 values here. So that's why the array size is became 6. So now the matter is common again. Now you know how to iterate the array, how to get values from the array and all. The story is common. So but how we are passing values to the main method of string array, is always above via the concept called as command line arguments. What is the point of command line arguments here? It is, yes, while executing the program, your main method is not expecting any input values as part of the string array. You will not give anything. It's not mandatory. But your program is expecting, main method is expecting some values whenever, okay, to execute logic of main method always, then you can pass values to the string array. So Java provided string array always. That's the reason Java provided string. If you want to pass value, simple. The summary here it is, whenever we want to pass some values to the main method, yes, it is possible. So you can pass via command line arguments. So those values will be stored inside the string array. What the order, whatever you passed here it is. So now by using that array name, now the story is common. Now you know how to iterate the array, how to get values, first index, second index, last index, all the story is again common. So total 6 values available because you are passing 6 values here it is like that. Now let's see here. Let me write a simple for loop and iterate all the values. String value colon. So what it is? Array name is args. And then system.out.println of I'll print val. For each loop I used it. I'm printing all the values. Really it is picked up or not to verify that. First I'm showing in the command line. If same thing, if I want to pass via Eclipse, what has to be done, I'll show you. Java C, and then I'm passing values one more time again. So see here, size is 6 and whatever you passed values 1, 2, 3, Dilip, Singh, and whatever the data you given as it is just stored inside the string array. String array. So this is the advantage of, that is the purpose they given string array as part of main method always. It's not simply the reason something else. This is the purpose. So if you want to pass some data to main method externally, then you have to pass always via command line arguments. So what is the command line argument means? Whenever you are executing program via like this from the command line, you will pass values always like this. And then it is going to take. And can I ask one more thing? Why they defined only string? Why not integer? Okay, maybe somehow you understood passing main method, some information they given string. Why it is only string? Why not integer? Why not other? You know that, right? So in integer, you can keep in any way only numbers values, plain number values. If it is string, I mean, even if it is integer, float, double, whatever it is, you can store only that specific data. But if it is a string, once you are applying double quotes, inside the double quotes, you can pass any values. You can pass any values. So whether it is an integer value, whether it is a string value, once you are applying double quotes, it will become as a string value. But after that, you will, in case if you convert this as a only integer values, there are some methods available. Value of integer add value of or something like that. So you can convert it into integer. But in integer point of view, first of all, you cannot keep some by any alterating content itself. You cannot keep some reason Dilip into integer. But in string, I can keep the integer values. I can keep the integer values in somehow, and after that I can convert that actual by removing that double quotes and all. I can convert it to integer. But in this case, first of all, I cannot keep except plain numbers. I cannot keep anything. So that's why to make it a generic data, they given everything into string format. String, they created string array here. So that's why if you see here, you are able to store all these values, integer values, floating values, long values, like that. So this is the advantage of string array as part of our regular main method, what we are using every day. So the reason is when you want to pass values to the main method externally, then you have to pass via command line arguments. Okay, fine. Now if it is command line, you are passing values like this. But if it is Eclipse, you are always using Eclipse like run as Java application, right? Or you are clicking on here and run as Java application. Or from here, you are always using some option like run as Java application, something like that. But how you are passing values from the Eclipse point of view, let's see here. Same thing, if you want to do in Eclipse, what you have to do. So command line arguments means, so generally what you will do, path and followed by command Java, the class name, and then space value 1 space value 2 space value 3, etc., etc. With one space you will make, you will pass all the values on by one. Okay, so now if you are doing same thing from the Eclipse, what you have to do, go here. For example, this main method I want to write. So in this class, go here, instead of run as Java application, instead of run as Java application, you have to choose the run configuration. What it is? Run configuration. And so once you open run configuration, if you see here, for which class you are making this database configuration. And if you go a section called as arguments, so in the Eclipse, it is talking about arguments. Click on that. Then you have two sections here it is. One is program arguments. Second is VM arguments. So VM arguments, don't leave it. So just concentrate. I mean, just in the program arguments, pass the data whatever you want to pass now. So I'll give like again 1, 2, 3, Dilip, and followed by Dilip at the rate gmail.com, and then followed by some percentage. Like that I given the data. So here you are passing the data. So same thing, Eclipse is taking now these arguments when it is executing the program, guys, simply. So whatever we did in the command line argument point of view, now whenever you are, next time whenever you are saying like run as, okay, run as what? See, if you see here, database configuration, they are taking values as 1, 2, 3, 4 pound meta. So you no need of all these things, just I am showing you. Simply pass values here in the arguments, in the program arguments level. If it is Eclipse, in interviews they will ask all these details. How will you pass values to the main method? What is the importance of string array in the main method? If I am converted to integer, what will happen? So all this information. So go to the run as configuration, and then you have to choose section called as arguments, and from that you have to choose programming arguments, program arguments. And then there you can pass value 1 comma value 2, etc., etc., space, like that you can pass the values. Now run, click on run. See what is the size array now? 4. Even if you want, you can print it. I mean, if you want to see the data, for loop, and followed by, what is the array, guys? String array. So that's why you have to take string value colon, array name is args. So sys out of value. So let's see all the values came here or not. Now onwards, now next time onwards you can simply run as Java application, because you already configured values. It will take always from there. So now for the first time, if you want to pass, you have to configure there. Next time onwards, you are clicking on that. It will take always that information there. If you want to modify it again, if you want to pass some other information, run configuration, arguments, then you can give some other information again. Here it is. So you can give whatever you want. Now abc at the rate gmail.com, password abc123, something like that. Now I'm passing only two values this time. Okay, apply and run. See, now it is size is 2, it is taking abc at the rate gmail.com, and password is all this information. So in such a way you can pass values to this string array. So if you want to pass information to the main method, is possible in Java means yes, possible. You have to pass via command line arguments, and those are all argument values, command line level, whatever you are passing, those are all converted into string array, and then you can do whatever you want to do with this array, whatever the values available inside that. Okay, so this is the importance of string array as part of the main method always. So you can pass values via command line arguments to the string array as part of the main method. So that internally JVM, whenever JVM executing this program, main method, it will check this guy passing any command line argument values for this array or not. If you are not passing anything, nothing. If you are passing any values, then it will keep those values one by one into the string array, and that's then the string contains data. So then you can put any, I mean, you are able to take values from that array and you can do whatever you want based on the requirement. So here the argument name is, you know that it's an argument name, guys. Argument names point of view, you can give anything. It's not like is always arguments. You have to give always. You can give anything, ABC, XYZ arguments, your name, my name, whatever you want, you can give it because it's a variable name. It's a simple variable name. So that's why you can give anything. So this is all about the command line arguments in Java language. Okay. So with this, we are done with the arrays topic. Whatever the, okay, with this we are done with the arrays topic. Now let's move to the new topic called as. So these are all questions you have to prepare on your own. You have to remember all these things on your own, guys. In case if main method is not missing, what will happen? Changing string to integer, what is the error you are getting? How to pass values to the string array of main method, command line arguments. So these are all details you have to remember. Small question but long discussion, no problem. And the reason why I told here it is somehow some reasons in real-time applications, even though web applications are there, especially nowadays Spring Boot is happening, right? So we will pass some values via command line arguments. So that's why I explained this much time. Okay, I know the importance of this concept in real-time point of view also. That's why I taken this much time. What exactly and all bit by bit point of view. Okay. So with this, we are done with the arrays topic and let's move to the new topic now. So what I'm going to discuss right now is a concept called as wrapper classes. Wrapper classes. So what is the point of wrapper classes? Let's try to understand. It's a new topic and very simple and straightforward also. It's a very simple and straightforward as a small topic. Okay. So okay. So if you see here wrapper classes, what are the wrapper classes? Let's try to understand. Okay. So whenever Java, as part of Java, whatever we are writing the logic and everything, whenever we are talking about the Java, Java used to talk it as, Java is calling as a object oriented program. Object oriented program. So the Java is completely driving based on the object. Whenever you are executing the Java program, so majority of the times, okay, you can do everything by using object only. So I told you that's what. Even though you are having static variables, non-static methods as part of our Java language, people will most of the times the logic is applicable with respect to non-static variables and non-static methods only. So whenever you define non-static variables as well as methods, so that means to call non-static variables and non-static methods. you need always object. So that means you have to create the object, create object for the class, and then call the methods. So this is what we are doing every day. So we are creating a method object for that class and we are calling the methods. So if you see here, this is a non-static method. So that's why what we did, we created object, we are calling the method, right? And tomorrow, this is what non-static variables. These are all what? Non-static variables. So in case if you want to access non-static variables also, assume from the main method you want to access it, what you will do? You have to do only via object name point of view. So you will do always like sys out of object dot id, something like that. I'm able to do that. I'm able to do it. So here non-static variable I'm calling via object point of view. But the overall class here it is employee is the class. Employee is also a data type. So for the employee class, I'm able to create the object. Okay, and by using that object, I'm doing everything. Now, for example, if I'm trying to access ID variable directly, what is happening? You cannot call that because it's a non-static variable. So you have to call always via with the help of object. Okay, so that's why they are trying to say Java is a object-oriented programming language. So in Java, whenever you are writing the logic, whenever you are executing the logic, it is always via creation of object, and by using that object, your entire object, I mean, you are executing the logic. So you are driving the logic execution, driving the logic execution via object. Okay, this is all okay. So we understood somehow we can achieve 100% things via object oriented content, object oriented methods, and by creating object we can call the variables, we can call the methods, we can execute, we can do whatever we want via object. But whenever Java is saying Java is object oriented programming and Java is giving 100% object oriented solutions, so Java is claiming as object oriented solutions they're given. Now, if I'm asking one point, so when I created string name equal to new string, and what I'm able to do here it is string is a class. String is a class. So that means I'm creating an object for a string class. And then inside this name reference level, I can keep some values here. So what I did here in this case, for the string, I created an object. First time I created an object by using new operator. And I'm keeping some information into string and I can call the methods like name dot, okay, length method, name dot concatenation, name dot index, name dot character rate. So I can call all the methods. So I can call all the methods of string class by using object name. By using object name, you can call any method of string class. So this is also object oriented solution only. You created object for the string class. You are putting data, you are getting data, you are calling all other methods of the string class by using object name here. But when Java is saying everything is object oriented, as a Java developer, you read an employee class, you are able to create the object. Even Java is given a class called as string, you are able to create object for the string class also. So string class also. But the thing is, when it comes to primitive data type, so Java is giving 8 primitive data types. Now, whenever I'm keeping some data or accessing data as part of this primitive data types, like for example, integer age equal to 30. So what is the point in this case? You're directly putting a value called as 30 inside a variable called as age. And as well as in this case, int int whatever the data type you define, it's not a class. It's not a class. So that means whenever it is not a class means there is no point of creating object. That means there is no concept of object. Only for classes you can create the objects. So first of all, integer itself not a class. So that means you cannot create the object. That means without object creation in Java language, you are able to do something. That means what? Creating the variables, assigning values to the variables, all these things you can do that. So that is what you can do only via 8 primitive data types like integer, long, byte, double, short, float, boolean, all these things, character, char. So that means in this 8 primitive data types, whatever we discussed, integer, char, boolean, and all other etc., what you know, double, float point of view, these are all not classes. These are all not classes. And even though those are all not classes, we are using into our programming and we are making lot of operations. We are making lot of operations. Then how Java is saying like claiming like Java is 100% object oriented. So in this 8 primitive data types point of view, without creating an object, there is without concept of object itself, you are making some operations, assigning the values like integer sum equal to okay 10 plus 20 something like that. So what is the point? You are adding two values again doing all. So that means in the overall context what you have to understand here it is without involvement of object here itself you are managing the content. You are managing the content. You are executing few things without object involvement. That is only possible because of 8 primitive data types. Other than 8 primitive data types, what you taken? String, yes. String point of view, you are able to create the object and then you are accessing the data. And if you created your own classes like student, so yes, you can create object for the student class. So see, if it is a class, then you are able to create the object. You are able to create the object. But in this case, 8 primitive data types are not classes first of all. There are some specific reserved keywords to deal with the variables and values, but not the regular Java classes. Not at all a classes. If not a class, there is no concept of object. But still you are able to involve those into programming and you are able to create the content and you are able to do some lot of operations. Then Java, how it is saying like 100% is object oriented solutions. So that is the point here it is. Now in this case, what Java did here it is not only this point, tomorrow, I mean not tomorrow, after some point of time in Java language, whenever you want to deal some data like integer data, long data, float data, double data, whatever it is, you have to deal always only in the format of objects. In some specific scenarios, even integer data, double data, float data, boolean data, whatever 8 primitive data types, right? Even that data also I have to consider as a object only. So I have to consider all as a object only. So that means in some specific scenarios, okay, we have to consider all 8 primitives also primitive data type values or data type values also as objects. How it is possible? If integer, double, float, char, etc., 8 primitive data types are classes, no. So if there is no class means no object concept. No class means no object. No class means no object. But still I want to make sure sometimes this variable and values whatever I am creating here, I have to consider these things also as an objects. Still sometimes I have to make sure the primitive data also as an objects. as an object oriented solutions. Okay, so then what you have to do? Tomorrow I said, right, one thing I said, collection framework. I mean, after some point of time, you will understand the collection framework. So whenever we are understanding the collection framework, whenever we are dealing some data in the collection framework, like for example, assume I said collection framework is similar to arrays concept, group of values. In arrays, what you did, if you created an array like integer, some size, whatever it is, and you are keeping the values equal to something like, directly you created an array and you are keeping some values like this. But in collection framework, whenever you want to keep more than one integer value, in collection framework, it is not allowed to use primitives. Collection framework is always defined 100% with a concept called as involving objects only. But when you want to deal with this kind of integer data, float data, all these things, if it is not allowing other than objects, then how will you use the primitive? But because the reason is primitives are not classes, primitives are not comes under the objects. But collection framework is allowing the content only via objects. But you cannot, for primitives, you cannot create the objects. Then what you have to do? So there is a challenge again. To overcome all these problems, to make Java is 100% object oriented, even to make primitives also to represent primitive content and those and their operations also in object oriented Java provided wrapper classes concept. Java provided wrapper classes. So Java provided wrapper classes. So that means what is the point you have to understand here? It is whatever the non-object oriented, whatever the non-object oriented things we are doing till now with respect to primitives, even if we want to make those things also into 100% as object oriented, which related to 8 primitive data type, by using wrapper classes we can do that. So that means in this case, what Java did here, it is for every primitive data type, Java provided a associated class, and those are all called as wrapper classes. Those are all called as wrapper classes. So what is the point of wrapper, guys? You know, right? Chocolate wrapper. So that means in general, the wrapper will contain, so it's a wrapper and inside that you will have the content. Chocolate wrapper. So that means chocolate wrapper, the real chocolate is wrapped inside a cover. So that we are calling as a wrapper. So in the original content available inside the wrapper. So in such a way only they given this name also called as wrapper classes. For every primitive data type, Java provided a specific class and those classes we are calling as a wrapper classes. So that means if you are having 8 primitive data types in Java language, so that means you are having 8 wrapper classes. 8 wrapper classes. So the importance of wrapper classes you will understand especially when you are going to the collection framework. I'll show you at that time. So the real importance of wrapper. But I will tell you, generally we will use primitives or wrappers in our day-to-day programming also. I'll tell you. Okay. So now let's list out all 8 wrapper classes which are given associated to the primitive data types. First one is, let's go in an order. Byte is the primitive data type, right? And then I'm writing in a format like primitive and followed by its class. point of view, I'm writing this. Why they given specifically class name? I mean, these classes considering as a wrapper classes. I'll just give you overview also. Byte and then class name is byte. What is that class name, guys? Byte. So these are all Java classes. That means these are all implemented by Java language only, but in the format of class. Now byte is primitive data type. Byte is a class. Similarly, short and then its associated class is short. If you observe here, capital letter I am writing. So naming convention point of view, Java also given in same format. The next int, and with respect to int format, int point of view, the primitive data type is int and the class name is integer. Integer, full word. Then long, and when it comes to long, the class name is long. Similarly, if you go with the double, the class name is double. And if you go with float, the class name is float. And then char and boolean, right? Yeah, boolean. Then the class name is boolean. And then char, the class name is character. So the given full words as part of the class names point of. So now these are the 8 classes called as wrapper classes. So who implemented these classes means again Java only. And these classes implemented under a package called as default package java.lang package. So java.lang package. These are all classes implemented under a package called as java.lang package. We know that java.lang is called as default package. If you want me show that, I'll show you. Give me a second. Okay. You know, right, how to open predefined class in Eclipse? I told you one command, Control Shift T. So just search for integer, something like that. Integer. If you see here, class called as integer java.lang. So open this. This is under the package called as java.lang. It's called as default. So that means tomorrow when you are using integer class in our programming, we no need to import the package because it's under the default package called as java.lang. Internally it will understand. Now if you see here, public class integer. Leave about this final and all. We will come to know later what is final and all. This extends probably we will start tomorrow only. Object oriented programming principles. I'm going to start from tomorrow, guys. So that means inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. Now the real Java OOPS principles, real core Java concepts, whatever it is going to start from the tomorrow. So until today, what we discussed is it's all about we made the basic knowledge of programming language, like how to make variables, methods, all these things. From tomorrow onwards, we'll see object-oriented programming principles. So then you will come to know what is this extends, implements, all these things. Okay. Okay. So but overall, what I'm trying to say here it is a integer is a class, public class integer. So this is what I'm. Similarly, if you go for short or long, yeah, long dot class. So this long is also a class. Like that, for every primitive you are having a associated Java class, and those classes will be called as wrapper classes. So what is the why they are calling it as a wrapper classes point of view? We have a concept called as auto boxing, something like that. I'll explain that into tomorrow. Just it will not take more than 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll move to the object oriented programming principles. So for time being, I'll just show you one small example and I'll explain you in tomorrow's session why it is being called as wrapper classes point of view and all. We will understand tomorrow. So what I will do is A small example immediately I'll write, and we will discuss in detail tomorrow also one more time. So a concept around this is wrap auto boxing is there. I will discuss that tomorrow. For time being, we'll take one example today. Okay. Okay. So let's take main method also. Okay. If you see here, integer a is equal to 30. These are all we know that how to define. Now if I am defining integer is a class now. What is integer is a class. I am defining age 1 equal to new integer. If you see here, something you can create directly like this. Integer and followed by some value called as something like 35, whatever it is. So this is the cross mark, whatever it is showing as called as deprecated constructor. So what is the point of deprecation? I'll explain tomorrow, guys. Okay. So why it is showing this strike mark that called as deprecated one. So that means I'll discuss tomorrow what is the point of deprecation, deprecated. This is not only related to these classes. Deprecated is a concept called as, I'll explain it tomorrow. It's not related to wrapper, it's related to every, it's a generic concept. I'll tell you what is the point of deprecated and all. So at one point of time you can create, see now you are able to create object and you are able to maintain data of primitives also. Now I no need to maintain these things. Now see my solution is 100% object oriented solution. So that means in place of primitives to make your operations 100% object oriented, you are going to use the wrapper classes. So here also ultimately you are dealing with a value called as 35 only, but you are dealing via object oriented solutions. So that is what the thing it is showing. But generally this is Java is recommending whatever you created a constructor like this, it's a what deprecated one. What is deprecation? I'll tell you tomorrow. It will take 5-10 minutes. But I can create value like this integer dot value of something. This is the way you have to use it. So Java is recommending don't use integer in this format in a deprec. So that is what it is suggesting in a format of deprecation, but you have to use in this format. But ultimately what you have to understand here it is you are making class and class related operations and object oriented solutions by using these Java classes. Similarly, if it is character, character C equal to, okay, new character. Again, this is also deprecated only. I'll tell you what is this deprecated point of view. But they are recommending like instead of using this one also, character C1 equal to character of character value of here. So something like that. They are saying this in this approach we have to use it. I'll tell you what is deprecated and all tomorrow. And we will discuss around this topic integer. If you observe here integer, I'll discuss all these details tomorrow. Value equal to 99. So what you observed here, it looks like, however, generally you will create variables like integer marks equal to 99 point of view, whatever it is. What happened, it looks like you are creating by using wrapper class also, you are assigning directly integer value to this reference, directly a real value, like however you are able to do in the primitive data type. So this is called as something like auto boxing concept. What is auto boxing, unboxing point of view, I'll explain. These are all details tomorrow. So with this you are done with the wrapper classes. It's a very simple concept. Generally simply you are storing what a real value directly into integer value without creating the object, without creating the object. So they made a compatibility in between primitive data type and its associated wrapper classes level. They made a compatibility. So that compatibility we are calling it as auto boxing point of view. So auto boxing and unboxing point of view. What is auto boxing, unboxing? I'll explain tomorrow. That's all. With that you are done with wrapper classes also. So why especially the overall point what you have to understand around the wrapper classes here it is to make primitive data and primitive data operations also into object oriented solutions. They introduced 8 wrapper classes for 8 primitives simply to make all these content primitives content also with respect to object oriented solutions. To support object oriented solutions they came up with 8 associated wrapper classes, 8 classes, and those classes are called as wrapper classes. So why it is called as wrapper classes also, I'll tell you tomorrow. So what is the reason they given specifically wrapper also, I'll explain you tomorrow. So what you have to remember overall discussion is for 8 primitives you are having 8 wrapper classes to make sure primitive content also into object oriented solutions. They came up with 8 wrapper classes. And in some of the scenarios, you have to use 100% is object oriented only to represent this data also, but not primitives. That is especially collection framework. So there is a concept available again, generics, something like that. So generics point of view, you have to use always wrapper classes and then you cannot use the primitives. So in such case, int will not will not work. Only integer will work. So that means only wrapper classes will work. So that means in that concept, it is 100% involving everything as a object. So those details we'll discuss again at the collection framework also, but I'll explain you tomorrow why they given name as wrapper classes, and I'll explain you tomorrow around this topic. There is a concept available, auto boxing also, auto boxing and unboxing point of view. They'll call it as in a small interview perspective. They will ask what is the point of auto boxing, unboxing point of view. I'll explain that also tomorrow. So with that, you are done with the wrapper classes. Then I will start with the object-oriented programming principles. Oops, principles. No. So with that, your inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation, these 4 concepts will be started now. And the most important heart, the entire heart of the Java programming language is these 4 principles that we are going to start from the tomorrow. So that means 100% real time oriented topics of the entire core Java programming is the object oriented programming principles. So those are all we'll start from tomorrow onwards. Okay. So that's all for today. Let's connect tomorrow with object oriented programming principles. It will not take 5 to 10 minutes tomorrow. Auto boxing and unboxing point of view, just 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll start with the object oriented programming principles. Okay. Thanks guys. Let's connect on tomorrow.